everyone. It's so great to see you. Lots of fans already lined up, which is not a surprise, of course.
It looks like a very big press conference.
Well, I guarantee this will be more fun than a press conference. Web Summit, Lisbon, it's so great to see you. How wonderful has this week been? I am so happy to be here to close out the event and the week with Ruben. There's a lot of pressure on us, to bring the energy, but you're used to pressure, are you not?
Yeah. I kind of assume so, and yeah, we need to finish it big.
Well, how do you deal with pressure? Let's start there, because I think a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, maybe who are just starting out, they have to think about pressure all the time, and you deal with pressure all the time on the field and off the field.
Yeah, well, it's a whole life dealing with it, and it just becomes part of you. It's the life, and maybe early ages you still complain about it, but at some point you start missing it because it's just part of the game. It's part of getting you on your best level, and you just embrace it. It becomes part of all of it.
And it's sort of just at a certain level for you always. So it's like the norm almost. You almost don't even feel it.
Yeah, well, I guess that if you get good enough at what you do, whatever you might do, it's because you've managed to master that pressure.
I know you've been on international break, but you've been traveling to London. You spoke at the House of Parliament, and you talked about anti-bullying. Why is that message so important for you to deliver?
Well, I guess it goes within, if you have influence, power, you make sure you use it wisely. If not, might as well not have it. So anti-bullying, I guess, and especially the way me and my team saw it, already related as well with education. And we felt like it was the right moment to start and push and try and start to make a difference.
Yeah, so it's anti-bullying week in the UK. You spoke with students as well. What did you hear from them? What are they struggling with?
Well, it was mostly about kind of me sharing my view on it. And one of the main questions was, Ruben, have you dealt with bullying yourself? And that's not really the case. I've never had a really bad experience. Only the usual when you want to become a top performance athlete. You always have your struggles. You always have people telling you that you're not good enough, and so on, so on. But for me, it was more about seeing it right next to me so often, and kind of having to stand up for it, and having to take a decision of, okay, will I accept it and just let it go, or will I eventually start to intervene, and obviously on the right way, because I'm a person that likes to resolve things through words. But when the time was right to try and have a conversation with the person that was doing that bullying, to someone that maybe was not ready to fight back. And when someone feels they're in that position of power, why push it? Why don't understand the situation and address it correctly?
Yeah, I think the platform of anti-bullying sometimes is always associated with younger kids, right, or school children, but bullying happens all the time. Even as adults, you deal with this in the locker room. What are some of the words that you use? How do you de-escalate a situation when you come in and you want to stop the bullying?
Yeah, well, it goes from everywhere. So you can be, like you said, and maybe more often young kids, because also they're not as prepared as they could to resist it and to fight it. But also, even today, at least in my environment of work, especially with social media and all of it, the online abuse, it's obviously a situation that happens. And at the end, I'm one person that believes a lot in fighting it on your own with yourself, because at the end of the day, you have to do it for yourself. You have to do what you have to do and survive your environment. But indeed, and I think this is the moment when when an individual has that power within himself to be in the position in which I consider I am. It's not just about me surviving. It's also about me trying to help others and try and be a voice and stand against it.
And you set an example. You have such a big platform. You have so many followers. How do you deal with bullying on your own social media? After a game or something? I mean, do you turn off the comments? Do you turn off your app? Do you turn off your phone?
Well, I would consider I'm very good at ignoring it. Also, it all starts at home. The influence you have at home, the comfort and the love you have at home. And home for me has always been the escape room. But then also, how much you believe in your purpose. Because in the end, your purpose, the reason why you're doing it, it's the one thing that keeps you going. And in moments of stress, in moments in which people are trying to bring you down, you always have to remember why you're doing it. And then just an inner force within you comes out, and you keep performing, you keep resisting it until you break it. And people maybe understand that they have no effect on you. And yeah, I think for me that's always been the way. But yeah, it's definitely not an easy one to deal with sometimes.
I love that message. If you know what your purpose is and you keep true to that, and if you keep that as your North Star, you can ignore everything else. Now, you don't have a lot of off time, downtime, and you're making time to talk about anti-bullying. How do you manage your time? I mean, I think we're going to talk a little bit about your schedule coming up, but just in general, do you have any tips or tricks on managing your own schedule?
It is very difficult. So even just now, the way we managed to get the initiative of the anti-bullying was also related with the international break. Obviously, then I got injured, and that happened. Even the fact that I'm here today.
How are you feeling, by the way?
I'm getting better. I'm getting better.
Okay, I think everyone wants to know. So
yeah,
okay,
hopefully soon I'll be back.
Good.
But even the fact that I'm here today, it's because of that window that opened because of my injury. But it's usually not easy to flow around it, to fly around it, because also then it has to do with a lot. Traveling-wise, we're not very flexible in football. And obviously then the momentum of the team, it's always something to consider and to know when you need to shut yourself down and just work and not be talking too much, or when it's the moment to actually try and make a difference. So, yeah.
How do you decompress after a game? How do you relax? What's your go-to habit or ritual?
Well, I guess I'm just a very home person. So for me, to be home, watching my movie, listening to my music, but especially, obviously, these are the things I end up doing, but it's more being around my parents, my brother, the comfort of just not caring about pleasing anyone. I'm just in my comfort zone. And that for me is a very important space. It has always been. It's also a place in which I know I will always receive good advice. And it's a place in which I know I'll be able to open up and get to good conclusions, even though sometimes I'll disagree. But it's a space in which I can have a conversation, and sometimes it almost works as talking to a psychologist.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have a great support system at home, and you've been talking about that a lot, which is really, I think, a good message for everyone too to think about when you talked about anti-bullying and having people at home you can talk to. I'm also curious, just in general, about time, because there's been a lot of conversations around whether or not footballers are being overplayed with the schedules extending. I think there was one estimate that says by the next season, if a team, in a leading team, looks to their entire season, they could play up to 86 games. 86. And that finishes in that next season. Is that too many? Should there be a limit to the number of games and matches that you play?
Yeah, well, if you ask my personal opinion, it definitely should, because you end up talking about performance, and to make sure you have the best performance, you need to make sure that the athletes are safe. And if you really ask me, at the moment in time, I don't think everyone really cares about the athletes. Everyone cares about the financial profit, and I understand it. It is what it is, and that's the world we live in. And football is so special because everyone wants to see it all the time, and we understand it. It's out of love as well. But in the end, we all are very demanding with ourselves. We're all professionals and very ambitious. And when you set a task on us, we want to do it, and we want to break it. But now the task, comparing to the past, is getting very much on a different zone. One you can't really keep up because, and especially this season, I think it will be the craziest one so far. We don't even really know what to expect, especially with the extra competition at the end of the season, the Club World Cup. We don't really know what to expect of it. But yes, it will go, I think, like everything else, at least in my life, and I think everyone's, day by day, and see how it goes. But definitely, I believe it's something we need to address, because if people want a good show, out of the love for the sport, we need to care about the athletes, and the legs can't keep going without stopping. I don't even know if we'll have any downtime this season, and I think this is the most worrying, because you give us enough time off to refresh, to start going again little by little, and be ready to go again. And obviously, we'll give you the best show you have had. But if you stop giving us that time, then it's not 1 season, 2 seasons. It's a whole season. It's a whole season just altogether.
You said everyone should care more about the physical health of the players. Does that include fans? Should fans be more concerned about your health and maybe also demand fewer matches? What is the right number, do you think? If it's not 86, is it 50? Is it 60? What do you think?
Well, I won't be talking about the right number. I will only say that, talking about the past, we have a standard, and now we're just going way over that standard. And I think that's the point. Obviously, it's always going to be demanding, and we love it, and we love to exceed ourselves. But I don't think it's so much about. Obviously, I believe the fans understand, and the fans want a good show, and obviously they want numbers and games, and they want to be watching it all the time. But at the end of the day, I believe that if you really had a conversation with a number of fans, they would understand the question. But here, I think it's more centralized on the players. Because the players are the ones that go and perform. Obviously, we understand all the industry around it, but in the end, it's our bodies, and we want to do and give the best show and the best performance we can. But people need to understand that we need to rest, we need to breathe in order to do that.
How does everyone feel? Should we have fewer? Or at least, yes. Okay, we have some. There you go. So we have some fans who care. One of your teammates said actually that there might be no other option but to strike. Would you advocate for a strike?
Well, it's one of them. Obviously, when you talk about it, it's important to be together and do it together. But it's like every other extreme situation. If at some point we do need to raise our voices and we manage to do it together, maybe we will. We don't know the future. We'll see what's coming. Like I said, I think right now everyone is very focused on doing the day by day. But yeah, it's definitely something that will cost our bodies. And in due time, I believe we'll have to address it seriously.
Well, you're a true leader on the pitch and off. And I think your voice matters on this, so I think it was important for us to have that conversation. And, you talk a lot about taking your job seriously, having it be very demanding. Have you thought about what you might do after your soccer career? Have you given any thought to, I don't know, is David Beckham, somebody that you would want, a career that you'd want to achieve after something of that kind of portfolio career? Have you given that thought?
Yeah, well, I'm not really sure about owning a club, but more in the sense of preparing it, yes. And not even about specifically having already in my mind, and I've been thinking about this since I was 17, 18.
So you already, wow, okay.
But it was never a thought of, I want to do something specifically. It was more in order to prepare and have all the options in the world. And then, because I think it won't ever be accurate for me to be thinking now exactly about what I want to do after I finish my career. It would always be very random still. And what I do want to do is build up whatever I'm going to build up based on what my beliefs are. And then at the end of it, have all those options open for me. If it will be a manager, if it will be, I don't know, there's a million options within football and even outside football. And I want to make sure that I'm ready for all of them. I want to open my way, and the best timing to do so is now. And like I've told you, I've been thinking about this for a long time. And I think the main question for me is that I finally found the person, the team, that will help me to build up my ideas.
So you've been thinking about this for over 10 years. At that point, why did you already know it was important to start thinking about it at that time?
Well, I guess it's just everyone's mind, everyone's different. And I've always been a little bit very calculated in terms of preparing my future and knowing my options. And it was always something that gave me pleasure, if I'm being honest with you. Also like the financial world, like learning about it as a young footballer. When you start having all this money and knowing how to use it in the best way. Obviously, never cutting down on your passions, and I think that's an important one to assume and own it. But yes, definitely look forward, and I'm always the person that says I only live my life day by day.
Yes.
But in these things, you have to look forward, and if you have big ambitions, if you have big plans for yourself and for your cause, I think you should prepare it. I kind of always, and this was also a very big drive for myself growing up, and in those more difficult times while making yourself through my academy, my football world. At some point in a moment of struggle, there would always be a feeling of in my mind coming through. Just I've just been born for something bigger than myself, and this was a present feeling for since I can remember. And maybe I'm still to find out the right answer for that. But for sure, I want to explore it and I want to go deeper. And I have ambitions and things I care about. And like I said to you before, I still don't know. I have no clue what I'll do when I finish my career. But I want to make sure that I keep on digging and finding answers.
That's amazing. I mean, you're so thoughtful about this. How have you started to build that bridge? I know you're working with Nebula. You're trying things here and there. What are the things that you're experimenting with?
Well, one thing about Nebula, I had my experiences before, and it was always kind of a relationship, working with a company in that sense. It was always kind of an experience of, okay, let's start working. We have this project for you, obviously who you are, your personality, and let's see where we can start making profit out of it. And obviously, it is what it is. It's interesting for both parts, but I was always interested in something else, even though I tried because I had my experiences, some good, some bad. It's part of life. But I guess Nebula, and more specifically Paulo, and he was the main driver on all of this because I had my vision, and at some point, a friend, my lawyer actually, he pointed Paulo towards me because he just felt, listen, I'm not even pushing a friend.
Yeah.
I just really believe you see very much alike. And we had our first conversation, and in the end, the way we connected and the way we start working, we just said it, all right, forget about profit, forget about any contracts or any brands or whatever. Forget about all of that. Let's focus on you. Let's brainwash who you are, and let's go deep. Let's cave and see all the things that are in your mind, that all the things that, since you, like you say, since you're 18 years old, were going through your mind. And I think that is the kind of way to do it, because now I feel finally like I'm building my way the way I am, and in a very genuine way, one I will always be able to support, because it's just who I am. I'm not pretending to like or support anything that it's not something I believe in. So, yeah.
What are some of your favorite projects that you've worked on so far that you hope to expand on in the future?
Well, I would focus, obviously anti-bullying is already a part of it, but I would focus myself on education. Education is a big drive for me.
Any kind of education in particular?
I can go many ways, but I think one right now that is very much in my mind is that soon enough we might be lacking high-quality teachers. And I think that's something to worry about, and something I definitely will want to dedicate myself to.
And if you had to pick, if we're at a convention of innovators, if you had to pick another job right now, what would you pick?
Oh, I have no idea.
Would you be CEO of a company? Is that appealing to you?
Well, I've always had this very natural leadership, but it would always have to be driven into a project that I believe in. If I had the characteristics to maybe be a CEO, I don't know. Life would tell me, and the experience itself would tell me. But I don't know. It would have to be. It's difficult. It's the typical question everyone asks a footballer: what would you do if you were not a footballer?
Okay.
But it's just to say that I would be very easygoing to do the simplest thing I could be doing in order to prepare my future and my family's future. But yeah, I would definitely be very motivated to do something that meant something for me.
Well, we're going to be looking very carefully at the clues for your education ventures. I think that's something that we're learning new today. Let's get to the last part of our conversation, some of the more fun questions that I wanted to share with you and the audience. One of them, it's you love music, I hear. EDM is a genre that you like. I spoke with the CEO earlier at the summit, the CEO of Etsy, and he compared using generative AI to make art to EDM. He said it's humans using machines to create art. Do you agree? And how do you feel about the way that AI is impacting a lot of jobs, including education?
Well, it's always a 50-50, I guess. It's a lot of good and a lot of bad, and at the end of the day, you have to weigh and see if it's doing more good than bad. Obviously, I don't know the specifics of how good and bad we're talking about, but it's the way forward, and we have to adapt, of course. About my love for music, I've actually just recently kind of accomplished a little ambition of mine.
Oh.
I had these big three: Hans Zimmer, Ludovico Einaudi, and Max Richter, and I got to see Max Richter live, and it was very special.
That's awesome. In the very little time you have, somehow you.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the injury it kind of helped with the time.
It's tricky. I don't want to say, but I'm glad that you got that. Which trophy do you most want to hold at the end of your career that you'll be proudest to say that you got?
Well, I've won a lot by now, and obviously, I think if I had to admire something, it would be the treble season when we won the treble. But I think something that will even give me more pleasure than that will be, by the end of my career, the feeling that I never stopped for a second of pursuing something and try and push myself. I think it's an answer I still don't know, and I will only know in the future. But knowing myself, I'll be very proud to know that I was able to keep that consistency, because for me, consistency in a world of stress, in a world of high performance, is the one most difficult thing. So if I'm able to conquer that consistency along the years, and obviously all the struggle it will be in my mind and everyone next to me supporting me, I think that's someone's biggest achievement. And then also, maybe finding out the one thing I felt like I was born to do.
Yeah.
And maybe finding out that would probably be a big one as well.
I love that. If you had to pick another sport, okay, if you don't have another job, if you had to pick another sport.
Another sport.
Yeah, which sport would you pick to play?
Being very honest with you, when I was young, I was very good at many sports. And my dad, at some point, he just said to me, listen, just stop. Because like this is impossible. Okay. You have to choose one and be very good at one. Because if not, you might be very good at all of them, but you won't be excellent at any of them. So, yeah, but obviously football was always my main drive. But I don't know. I've done karate when I was young, and I used to win my fights. I'm not...
So karate would be your second choice if it was...
No, I wouldn't think so.
Okay, what's your second choice?
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not tall enough, but maybe basketball. I used to love it as well.
Okay, I think you'd probably be very good. We're out of time, Ruben. Thank you so much. But before we conclude this amazing Web Summit in Lisbon, Web Summit has a special award for you. And I am really pleased to present and to invite back onto the stage the Mayor of Lisbon and the CEO of Web Summit, Patty Cosgrave.
Thank you, Hope. What a week it has been, and what a fitting way this is to finish it, by honouring one of Lisbon's finest athletes who has had such an impact on the international stage. Mayor, can I ask you to do the honours?
So thank you so much. It's a real honour for me as the Mayor of Lisbon to be here. And to be here also in the name of the people of Lisbon, because I was so inspired to hear from Ruben. Ruben, you're not just a champion and a winner. I think that you are the definition of a leader. And you are a definition of a leader that relates to so many of the young people here. Because first, you are the kind of person that whatever happens, you always lead by example. I mean, you arrive earlier, you work harder, you do your work as an example to others, and that's so inspiring for all this generation. The second thing is that, you know, if I would be in trouble, I would love to have you next by me, because you are, you know, Hemingway used to say, grace under pressure. And that's, you know, you show this grace under pressure all the time as a player, as a man, and as an example to others. And finally, I think that, like so many of you, entrepreneurship, it's about this leadership of never giving up. And Ruben is that example. So in the name of Web Summit, but also in the name of the people of Lisbon, Ruben, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being an amazing champion, but more than that, being an amazing person. Thank you very much, man. That's for you.
Thank you. Obrigado.
Congratulations, Ruben, to all of you who've spent the last 4 days, maybe more, in Lisbon. Thank you so much for coming to Web Summit 2024. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you in particular to the Mayor, who's been an incredible support to me for more than a decade and is an absolute incredible leader of this city and a visionary. Thank you one and all. Safe home, and see you in 2025.